Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. Today is Wednesday, November 27th, and it is the day before Thanksgiving, also known as Thanksgiving Eve. And, being that it's Thanksgiving, I said I was going to do a little bit of introspection and figure out what it is I'm thankful about as a Mets fan. And I had some grand plans, and it was hard to get this list narrowed down to something I could do quickly. So I'm going to alter those plans just a tiny bit on the fly, and we'll go from there. But I want to talk a little bit about what I'm grateful about as a Mets fan. And I also want to hit on a couple of the tidbits that have come out yesterday about coaching hires for the New York Mets in 2020. So I had yesterday, and actually on Monday too, I sort of started talking about being grateful for things and thankful for things because it's Thanksgiving week. And what I had intended to do today was come up with a list of things, a short list of things that sort of I can look back on as a Mets fan in my 40 years on this earth, and talk about those things, sort of like one or two or three sort of like seminal moments for me as a Mets fan. Things that I got to experience live, either at Shea Stadium or Citi Field. Just things that I got to do with my dad and my brother, who my dad's the reason I'm a Mets fan, of course. But I'll tell you what, man, it was really hard to get this down to something I could do this quickly. So, I mean, of course, some of the highlights are like 2006, which was just an incredible season. For me, I sort of, after the strike, in the baseball strike, I sort of fell out of love with the sport for a little while. And it wasn't until I got to college in '98 and the whole McGuire-Sosa chase was on, kind of got me back into the game a little bit. But I wasn't like diehard like I am now. And so I kind of missed out on the 99 and 2000 Mets. I mean, I certainly still watched games, but not to the degree that I watch them now, with the level of scrutiny and insanity that I pay attention to every single pitch now. But anyhow, the long and short of this is that it was impossible for me to come up with a handful of things. So I'm just going to say right now, I am truly grateful that my dad made me a Mets fan. And it's weird to say that because if you look at the history of the franchise from 1962 to present, we've it's not like we've had a whole shitload of stuff to really celebrate and hang our hats on, right? We have 2 World Series championships to our name, pennants in 69, 73, 86, 2000, and 2015. And a couple of division wins and a few wild card appearances and whatnot, but not a ton of success. Not like the crosstown Yankees, of course. And it's funny, I joke with people when I say I'm a Mets fan and I blame my dad and blah, blah, blah. I joke with them like, man, if only he was a Yankees fan. But the reality of it is I'm glad I'm not a Yankees fan. I'm glad that I'm a Mets fan, because being a Mets fan builds character. I say this all the time to people. I'm in sales, so I'm used to not winning all the time. It becomes a thing that's normal in sales, that you have to just sort of be able to deal with losing. And honestly, I think that being a Mets fan, it really prepares you for that. It prepares you for life lessons that you can't always get what you want. You can't. Things aren't always going to be sunshine and lollipops, and there've been so many moments that you can point at and be like, oh God, that was terrible. Like the Luis Castillo in 2008, the Luis Castillo dropped pop-up. Like, that was one of those low moments where you couldn't believe it happened, but you watched it and you came back the next day and you watched it again. Like, that's the sort of stuff that just in a little tiny microcosm of what being a Mets fan is. It's just dealing with those things and still coming back for more. Sort of like Rocky Balboa, the little speech he gives to his son, which is one of the best things, the best sort of like inspirational speeches ever put to film, where he sort of says, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep coming back for more. And that, I think, in a nutshell, sums up what being a Mets fan is. And so, in looking back at the disappointment of really, other than a handful of years, the last 2 decades have been as a Mets fan. I'm still grateful. I'm still grateful that my dad made me a Mets fan. And my kids have no choice, just like I had no choice. They are either going to be Mets fans or they're just not going to like baseball. Those are the only options for me. I cannot tolerate it. Just a quick aside, my cousin on my dad's side is a diehard Mets fan. My whole family is after my dad. But my cousin is a diehard Mets fan, and she married a diehard Astros fan, and they had 2 kids. They have 2 kids, both of whom are in their 20s now, and one of them is a Nationals fan, and the other is a Twins fan. And so they were very liberal about sort of like, go ahead and pick whatever team you want and follow them. Ryan was an Expos fan. Now he's a Nationals fan. And Danny, my cousin, is a Twins fan. And I can't allow that to happen. I just can't. Like what happened this year with the Nationals winning the World Series, if one of my kids were Nationals fans, I don't know what I would be able to do. I don't think I can handle it. So my kids must root for the Mets just like I had to root for the Mets. And again, I just feel like it prepared me for so much in life. And it's made me the person I am today. It's corny and cliche, but it's the truth. So, not what I was expecting to do today, as far as the what I'm thankful for moment. But I am thankful to be a Mets fan. I am thankful that I got to go to playoff games in 2006. I am thankful that I got to go to the first World Series game in the history of Citi Field. There's lots of things I'm thankful for, but most of all, I'm thankful to be a Mets fan. And I'm thankful for all of you who watch this show. I don't know how many of you there are, but I'm thankful that I have some audience, though it may be tiny. I don't care. I do this for me because I enjoy doing it, and that's that. So thanks for being a fan. Thanks for watching as often as you do. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for interacting with me on Twitter and on YouTube. Thanks. One final point, really quick. The Mets announced yesterday, well, I guess the Mets didn't really officially announce it, but yesterday it was reported that the Mets had come to terms or decided upon hiring Jeremy Hefner to be their pitching coach. And I'm indifferent, honestly, and I was sort of talking about it yesterday. I really don't care who the coaching staff is, because modern baseball is not played the way it used to be. There's like a management structure in place where the guys on the field aren't responsible for as much as they used to be responsible for. They're the face, they're the store manager, if you will. But corporate above them, they're the ones making the decisions. They're the ones setting the policies for the most part, and it's the store manager, that the ground level manager, who has to implement those policies. So in the Jeremy Hefner case, no different than the Hensley Mueller case, no different than Carlos Beltran. These guys are not independently going to be able to do whatever they want with the team, and that's why I'm sort of like, whatever. As far as the name itself goes, Hefner, he's a few years away off of having played in the league, so not that different from Beltran in that regard. And I think there's a big plus to that, because Hefner was playing the game when a lot of the Mets pitching staff was playing the game, or either professionally or at a high level in the amateur ranks. So I do like the Hefner hire. I'm not going to poo-poo it, because look, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how he's going to interact and work with the players. Just like we didn't know last year whether Chili Davis would be a success or a failure. You can't judge a coach based on what he did or at a previous team or at a previous spot in his career, because every coach works differently with different personnel. And so that's why I'm sort of like, let's not get crazy and overreact to Jeremy Hefner being a bad signing. We don't know whether he is or isn't. We can judge that after the season starts and see how the pitchers progress under Hefner's guidance. So that'll wrap it up for today. Again, I thank you. You can follow me on Twitter if you're not already doing so, at Mr._Met. Everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'll be back next week to talk more about something related to or peripheral to the Mets of New York. Until then, happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and have a great day. Oh, and as always, let's go Mets.